Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, not to the sound of your alarm, but to the sound of water lapping against your window. For hundreds of millions of people, this isn't a scene from a disaster movie. It's their new reality. What if, overnight, the world's sea levels rose by 10 meters? That's about 33 feet. This isn't a slow, creeping change over decades. This is an instantaneous, global catastrophe. What would our world look like just 24 hours later? The first thing you'd notice is the silence, quickly replaced by chaos. Coastal cities, the jewels of modern civilization, would be the first to fall. Think of New York, London, Shanghai, Mumbai, Sydney. Not just flooded, but largely erased. Wall Street would be a canal. The London Underground, a massive, interconnected tomb of water. The iconic Sydney Opera House would be an island, its lower levels completely submerged. Millions would be caught in the deluge, with rescue efforts crippled before they could even begin. Highways and bridges along the coasts would be gone, severed by the relentless force of the ocean. Airports like JFK in New York or Schiphol in Amsterdam, built on low-lying land, would be underwater. The global transportation network would shatter. No flights, no shipping. The intricate web that connects our world, that delivers our food, our fuel, our everything, would be broken in a matter of hours. But the immediate flooding is just the beginning. The world's population would be instantly displaced on a scale never before seen. We're talking about an estimated 600 million people living in coastal areas below 10 meters of elevation. Where do they go? Inland, of course. But this isn't an orderly evacuation. It's a panicked, desperate flight for survival. This mass migration would create an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Cities further inland, unprepared for such an influx, would be overwhelmed. Resources like food, water, and shelter would become flashpoints for conflict. Simultaneously, the global economy would implode. The world's largest ports, the arteries of global trade, are all at sea level. With them submerged, international commerce would cease. Trillions of dollars in real estate, infrastructure, and financial assets located in coastal zones would be wiped out. Stock markets would crash, not just dip. This wouldn't be a recession, it would be a complete economic reset, a plunge back into a pre-industrial style local economy, but without the skills or infrastructure to support it. Now, let's look beyond the first few days. The long-term consequences are even more terrifying. The saltwater intrusion would be devastating. It would poison freshwater sources for miles inland, rendering them undrinkable. This contamination would also destroy vast swathes of fertile agricultural land. The world's most productive farming regions, like the Mekong Delta in Vietnam or the Nile Delta in Egypt, would be lost to the sea. These are the breadbaskets for billions. Global food production would plummet, leading to widespread famine on a scale that's hard to even comprehend. The environmental impact would be equally catastrophic. Coastal ecosystems, like mangroves and coral reefs, which act as natural barriers against storms, would be annihilated. This would leave the new coastlines even more vulnerable to extreme weather. And the weather itself would change. A sudden increase in ocean surface area would dramatically alter global climate patterns. We could see more frequent and intense hurricanes, unpredictable rainfall patterns leading to both droughts and floods in new regions, and a fundamental shift in the seasons we've always known. This new world would be a world of conflict. With resources scarce and habitable land shrinking, tensions would inevitably escalate. Nations would fight over what's left. Access to fresh water, arable land, and high ground would become the new geopolitical battlegrounds. Borders would be redrawn not by treaties, but by force. The fragile peace that has held for decades would shatter under the immense pressure of survival. Imagine a world where every neighbor is a potential rival for the last can of food or the last bottle of clean water. Let's simulate a news report from this grim future. Good morning. From our emergency broadcast center in the Appalachian Mountains, this is day 30 of the Great Flood. Reports from what was once Florida are non-existent. The entire peninsula is presumed lost. A flotilla of makeshift rafts is attempting to cross the newly formed sea that separates the eastern states. In Europe, the Netherlands has been completely abandoned. Millions of refugees are pushing east, creating a humanitarian crisis at the German border. The global satellite network is beginning to fail, making coordinated relief efforts nearly impossible. We are entering a new dark age. It's a terrifying thought experiment, but it highlights our profound vulnerability. Our civilization is built on the assumption of a stable coastline. We've constructed our greatest achievements right at the water's edge. This scenario shows that the ocean, the cradle of life on Earth, could just as easily become our tomb. While a sudden 10-meter rise is an extreme scenario, the threat of sea level rise is very real. Scientists are observing the ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica melting at an accelerating rate. We may not wake up to a 10-meter rise tomorrow, but every fraction of a degree the planet warms, we get closer to an unrecognizable world. This isn't just about saving polar bears or distant islands. It's about saving ourselves. It's about the future of our cities, our economies, and our ability to live peacefully on this planet. The choices we make today, from our energy consumption to our global policies, will determine which future we get. Will it be one where we adapt and thrive, or one where we are forced to flee the rising tide? The story of a 10-meter sea level rise is a warning. It's a call to action. It forces us to confront the fragility of our world and the immense responsibility we have to protect it. The future isn't written yet. Let's work together to make sure this nightmare scenario remains firmly in the realm of fiction. Thank you so much for watching. If this video gave you something to think about, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. And let us know in the comments what other what-if scenarios you'd like us to explore. Stay curious and stay safe.